Hey everyone, my name is Mr. Argo, and this is English with Mr. Argo. And what I've created here is a couple tips for you to help you be successful in the online setting that we're in. Now, I want to make it more than just being successful in this class, more than just being successful in English, more than just being successful online. So, what I've come up with is three tips that I think can help you be successful anywhere. And they're not necessarily content related, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how they specifically apply to my class, but then also how they apply beyond this class to the world around you, whether it be jobs, family, relationships, whatever it is that you might be doing. These are things that can help you be successful in anything that you want to do. So, here are my three tips for success. First one, cultivate positive habits. The second one is be intentional. And the third one is take pride in what you do. And I want to talk about each one of these individually. So, cultivate positive habits. So, here's a quote by Will Durant. It says, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit." And we kind of have this idea that excellence is something that's done in a given moment. We see professional athletes or musicians, and we see these awesome things that we can do. But what we don't see is all the hours and hours of time they put into it and the habits they've cultivated over time in order to help them be excellent at what they do. So here's a couple things that can help you positively or help you cultivate positive habits. Establish a routine. Now, I realize that one of the challenging things about being online is there's not the kind of standard bell schedule that you follow, and you have to be in class and you move from one class to another. So you have to work on establishing a routine for yourself. Now, there's a couple things that are going to be routines in this class that are going to be specific. One, attendance. Take attendance every day. It needs to be in by 2:00. So you go on Google Classroom. There's going to be a form for you to fill it out, submit it. That's your attendance. We're also going to have online meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And depending on which period we're in, so fourth period, we're going to meet at 9:00, fifth period at 10:00, sixth period at 1:00. Now, beyond this class, the reason why routines are good is because it takes away decisions that your brain has to make when accomplishing something. So, for example, if I ask myself every day, okay, what time am I going to work out? It takes a little bit of brain space just for me to figure out, okay, I've got this at this time, I've got that at this time. When am I going to put this in? Whereas if I say, okay, at 9:00, I have my class. At 10:00, I have my class. You establish your routine. Your brain likes patterns. Every time you do something, it becomes easier to do it the next time. So when you build a pattern or a habit, your brain actually is better facilitating the process of doing that thing over and over again. Another habit, get work in on time. Okay. Now, I realize that with the online setting, the due dates are a little bit different than maybe what you're used to, but pay attention to due dates and get stuff in on time for a couple reasons. One, get into the habit of just meeting responsibilities and being accountable for your time. Okay. Also, when you turn something in on time, I can give you feedback, and that gives you time to revise it and work on it. Whereas if it comes in late, you might not have that time. Also, it's just easier to manage it if you're working on things daily. So, a couple things to think about how this applies beyond this classroom. When something happens, sometimes it's just as important as what happens. Timeliness is important. So, in my grade book, you'll see a grade that's based only on timeliness. If you get working on time, you get it. If you don't get working on time, you don't get those points and they're gone forever. But I kind of think about this in terms of if you go to a restaurant and you order a meal, and it might be the best meal that you've ever eaten in your life, but if it comes out 4 hours late, you're not happy with it. So practice this idea of getting work in on time and being accountable for meeting due dates, because that is an important part of how we interact with the world around us, whether it be with other people or with jobs or with responsibilities or family members or whatever. The next habit that I would say is do something every day. I saw this a lot the first term where students would come in, take attendance, and then not do anything. If you're going to log on, at least get something done. So what I would suggest is when you take attendance, set an alarm for like 30 minutes and just work for 30 minutes. And I always kind of bring up this point. There's a common saying that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't, that says, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. And this is the process of accomplishing anything large. Anything large can be broken down into smaller steps. Okay. And if you take it one step at a time, you're more likely to achieve a larger goal than if you just focus on the large, whatever it might be that you're trying to accomplish. So if you can break your day into tasks, say, okay, I'm going to work for 30 minutes. And if you work for 30 minutes every day, or you work for an hour every day, it's going to pay off a lot rather than just waiting till the end and trying to get it all done at once. So every day on Google Classroom, there's going to be a task for you to do. Okay, which means every time you log in, there's going to be something new every day. Now, if you miss a day or you're gone, don't worry about it. There's going to be time to finish it, but there's going to be something for you to do every day, because I want you to get into the habit of working every day. And that habit is not just about schoolwork, it's about jobs, it's about activities. It's about if you want to learn a musical instrument, if you want to learn how to skateboard, if you want to become better at a sport. If you work at something every day, you're going to get better results than having these long sessions once in a while where you're trying to work on it. So creating a habit where you're working every day is going to be more beneficial for you than waiting until the last minute and slamming it all out at the end. So when it comes to cultivating positive habits, establish a routine, get to work or get your work in on time, and do something every day. Every day, chip away at that goal that you're working towards. The next tip is be intentional. And what I mean by be intentional is actually think about what you're doing and do it for a purpose. So this quote by Glenn DeCloud is, change is inevitable, but growth is intentional. It's the idea that we're going to change and adapt to the world around us. Your brain is always looking for ways to get better at whatever it is it does. The problem is that it is whatever you do. So if you are sleeping in every morning, your brain and body gets accustomed to it and it gets better at sleeping in. Okay. Which is why when you want to change something, sometimes it's difficult at first, but as you do it more and more, it gets easier and easier. So when it comes to being intentional, here's a couple things that I would say. One, pay attention. Focus on what you're doing. Look for something every day. And there's something in your brain called the reticular activating system. And it's the part of your brain that helps sift through and filter information that you pay attention to. So think about it this way. It's like when you are driving a new car is a common example. If you get in a new car or you buy a new car or your family buys a new car, and then all of a sudden you're driving around and you see that same model of car all over the place, it's not like all of a sudden everyone bought the car. It's all of a sudden that you notice it because it's important to you. Your brain is looking for it. This is why you can fall asleep listening to music and you're not bothered by the change to the music. But if you hear something hit the window or the door open, all of a sudden you wake up because your brain is saying, paying attention to this. So your brain is actually going to focus on what you look for. If you think you're not a good writer and someone says, hey, I really like what you wrote, but this can be improved, you're going to focus on, but this can be improved. If you don't think you're good at math, you're going to look for all the times when someone says you're not good at math. Same thing on the opposite direction. If you think, hey, I'm really good at playing a music instrument, you're going to hear every time someone says, hey, you're good at that. So if every day you look for something to learn, you're going to find something to learn. If every day you look for something to get better at, you'll get better at it. Other thing when it comes to paying attention for this class specifically is read all the instructions. Okay. We spend a lot of time making videos, writing things down. Don't just blow through it. Like actually take the time to listen to it. It's going to save you time in the end, I promise you, because you're not going to have to go back and reread it. You're not going to have to go back and revise things. If you pay attention the first time, you're more likely to get it right the first time. The next step to being intentional is be engaged. And this means be active in the online classes, like come to the online classes. Now, are they required? They're not required because you can make them up by doing something else. But part of the grade that you're going to have for this class is actually engagement and what we call soft skills. And that's developing a relationship with those around you. It's actually being an active community member. It's actually participating in an active manner in the class. So come to the Zoom meetings, turn your camera on for a couple reasons. One, it makes me feel better because I can see real human beings and I need that and we need that. And there's all this stuff that's happening right now with people feeling like they're isolated, like they're separated from the rest of the world. Well, one easy way to do that is to get online and talk to someone and see someone's face. Human beings need other human beings. Okay. So do more than just jump through the hoops. If you come to a Zoom meeting, don't just turn your camera off and don't just turn your mic off and don't participate. Actually jump in and you're going to find that it's going to improve the environment. It's also going to improve your learning ability and you're going to understand more of what's going on. The next thing, adapt to challenges. I know that this whole situation is difficult. I know that it's hard. And whenever we come up against something difficult, we have two choices. We can quit and learn nothing, or we can try to figure it out and we can grow and develop. Challenges promote growth. Okay, I think about it in terms of like lifting weights. The more weight you lift, the stronger your body has to adapt to change to it. The more difficult something is for you to do, the more you get out of it doing it. And one of the most common things that people are afraid of, it's getting on the Zoom meetings or it's public speaking. And I can promise you, yes, they're difficult, but the more you do it, the easier they get and the more skills you develop. So trust the process. For those of you who are skating fans, this is Tony Hawk, and I'm a fan of Tony Hawk, not as a skater, but as a person, because I think what makes him great is he will just keep doing something over and over and over again. Even when he thinks it's impossible, he'll keep trying and trying and trying until he can actually accomplish his goals. And that's so important, is trust the process of it's okay to fail. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay to struggle. That's how you get better. That's how you improve. So don't be afraid of the challenges. So when it comes to being intentional, pay attention, be engaged, and adapt to the challenges around you. Grow through the struggle. Okay. The next step, take pride in what you do. So this is tip number 3. And here's a quote that's I kind of like, and I have one similar to it. It says, "It's easier to go downhill than up it, but the view is better at the top." I always hear students ask me a question like this: what's the least amount that I have to do? What's the easiest thing to do? How can I do this and make it easier for myself? Well, that's fine, but you're not getting that opportunity to grow and change. And the quote that I have that's like this is, if you consistently seek out the path of least resistance, you'll inevitably find yourself at the bottom. Okay. I once had a student ask, what's the least that I have to do for an A? Well, in that case, you're not getting an A. And what I mean by that is, if you're looking for the easiest way out, you're not an A student. Okay. If you want to be better, look for ways to be better, look for challenges to overcome. So take pride in what you do. And what that means is details matter. Okay. The little things matter. What makes one person stand out over another usually is just small, minor details that they do. They get there a little bit earlier. They look for extra work to do. And this is whether it's at school or in a job or anywhere else, but they take the time to make sure that things are done well. And they take the time to make sure that it's done appropriately. So for this class, the biggest chunk of grade that you have is your assessment pieces. And the assessment pieces, I always allow you to revise, and I want you to revise them for a couple reasons. One, writing is a process. You get better at it by practicing it. And the way you practice it is you write something, you get feedback, and you rewrite it, and you revise it, and you change it. That process of going through something and making something better is how you improve. If you just do something once and then turn it in and forget about it, you don't learn anything. You just did it and then you walk away, and you didn't get a chance to reflect and see what you could have done better. You didn't get a chance to see what you can change for the next time. So take the time to revise, rework, and redo. And this is a quote that I got from Dan O'Brien. He was the Olympic champion in the decathlon a few years ago. In 1996, and I was at a camp that he was at, and he brought this quote. He says, "Good, better, best. Never let it rest till the good get better and the better get best." And the idea being is that, yeah, we all start out as novices. We all start out not being able to do something, but it's the practice that makes us better at it. It's the trying that makes us better at it. So go ahead, take that time to revise, rework, and redo, because that's really how you improve. The last part about this is really a personal thing, and it's about having integrity. So pride is looking at what you've done, putting in effort, and being proud of what you are and what you've accomplished. And integrity is kind of that honesty. It's that hard work. It's that ethic that people have that helps them work with others. So when you have integrity, it means you're reliable, you're trustworthy. It improves relationships with the people that you're working with. Also, it improves the environment around you. And I see this all the time, where students can come in and they can either be a positive contribution, or they can be a negative contribution, or they can be a net zero. But I hear all the time people complain about how they wish things were different. They wish people were better. They wish the environment was better. They wish that the culture was better, but they're not willing to contribute to that. And the only way that I can say this is, be the person that you want other people to be. Have pride in what you do. Your time is valuable. Don't waste it on things that are meaningless. But a lot of times the meaningless comes from the fact that you don't spend time on it. The more time and effort you put into something, the more you're going to get out of it. So when it comes to taking pride in what you do, don't just jump through the hoops of this class, but actively think about how you can get better. Because maybe it's not just about the content, it's about the process of learning. It's about the process of becoming. It's about the process of changing that makes you better as a person and as an individual. So when it comes to taking pride in what you do, attention to detail. Revise, rework, redo. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try it again. That's okay. And then above all, have integrity. Be the kind of person that you want other people to be. So once again, these are my 3 tips for success. Cultivate positive habits, be intentional with what you do, and take pride in what you do. If you can do those things, it's not just going to help you in this class. If you can walk away with those 3 skills, it doesn't matter to me how well you do in terms of the English writing portion of this class. These are the things that will help you in whatever you decide to do beyond this. So the class is going to start now. I appreciate you guys being here. I look forward to working with you. But take these tips to heart. Give them a try. Don't just brush them off as just something that some teacher is telling you. But trust me, these are things that you'll find important. And if you try them and actively work at them, you're going to find success not only in this class, but beyond.